The moment my foot crosses the threshold, the scent hits me. Roasted coffee and warm sugar with a hint of cinnamon. Am I too late? Bess, who owns Strange Brew, looks up from her perch behind the counter and raises one perfectly arched eyebrow. Hello to you, too. Hi. Sorry. I quickly correct with what I hope is an appropriate amount of contrition as I approach her. Trying to peek around her into the kitchen, I can't resist repeating my question. So, am I too late? Is there any left? With an exaggerated roll of her eyes, Bess ducks into the kitchen and reappears a second later with a plate. With my mouth already watering, I study this week's culinary creation. It looks like a standard square, but knowing my friend, it'll be much more than that. Every Friday, Bess tests out new recipes for her coffee shop menu, and for as long as she's done that, I've been first in line to test her efforts. I'm usually here by around 11, when I'm about ready for a decent cup of coffee after forcing down the cliched pot of law enforcement tar back at the station. When I took over as sheriff several years ago, I suggested perhaps investing in a new coffee machine, but that did not go over well with Brenda, who had served as my father's office manager for 20 years before I took over. Although the title does not do her justice. The woman runs the office, and since things would fall apart without her, I wisely retracted my suggestion and have been chugging down the sludge she makes on a daily basis, without complaint, ducking out to Strange Brew, which is just down the block from the station, for a proper cup of Java. I had to fight off a crowd to save you the last one. Bess guilts me. Well, I'm sorry if I was held up. Mrs. Dixon's alarm went off. She fell again. I retaliate with my own guilt card. Mrs. Dixon is an octogenarian insistent on living independently in her little bungalow, when she would probably be better off moving into some assisted living facility. She is still sharp as a tack, but her balance and eyesight leave much to be desired. She has a son, but he lives in Alaska and only visits a few times a year. Last time she ended up in the hospital after a nasty fall that left her with a fractured wrist, he and I tag-teamed her into conceding to a health alert necklace, which, when deployed, not only sends an alert to the emergency dispatcher, but to my cell phone as well. Oh no! Is she hurt? She's gonna have a lovely bruise on her hip, but EMT's checked her out and she should be okay. I fill her in, bringing the first forkful of square to my mouth. Blueberries, and I smell a hint of something floral, recognizing it as lavender when the flavors hit my taste buds. Blueberry lavender coconut squares, Bess confirms when I groan my approval. I wasn't sure about the flavor combination, worried the lavender might get buried by the coconut, but Phil said it was perfectly balanced. Phil dropped by? I ask with my mouth full. Phil is Phyllis Woods, a.k.a. Phyllis Dubois, singer of former rock band Listen Phyllis, and also my father's new wife. She rolled into town in a rattling motorhome 2 years ago and rocked my father's world, blowing new life into him. It's impossible not to love Phil and the breath of fresh air she brought to our little town of silence. I'm the one who introduced her to Bess's Friday tastings, and I don't think she's missed one since. Stopped in with the sheriff earlier. They were on their way to Spokane for an appointment. After serving this town for well over 30 years, everyone still calls my father Sheriff, despite being retired for several years now as a result of health issues. It doesn't bother me. I love seeing how my father's chest still puffs up at hearing the honorary title. He lived for that job until it just about sucked the life out of him. It had been a hard transition, but since Phil's arrival in town, he seems to be enjoying his retirement a hell of a lot more. I bet you that's why they're heading into Spokane, to see Dad's cardiologist. Latte? Bess asks, moving to the complicated espresso machine. I nod and quickly swallow my bite before mumbling, Please.